2020 was expected to be a bumper year for cruising. With 30 million people travelling in 2019, this year was set to be even bigger and see innovative new ships such as Celebrity Apex, Carnival Mardi Gras, and Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady set sail and wow travellers. But in January, the media started to report on a virus that was considered a public health emergency of international concern. This virus, which was to become known as the COVID-19 pandemic, would change the course of 2020 for the cruise industry and for the entire world. As COVID-19 spread across the world, cruise lines began to become embroiled in the crisis. Princess Cruises was among the earliest and hardest hit. The line suffered a significant outbreak aboard the Diamond Princess early in February, with the ship quarantined in Yokohama, Japan. This and other outbreaks, including aboard the Grand Princess, created intense media attention. Throughout February, we saw numerous significant itinerary changes as cruise lines scrambled to redirect their ships away from the countries that were hardest hit by COVID-19. Many cruise lines abandoned Asian itineraries, with several ships redirected to Australian waters at short notice. This included Cunard's Queen Mary 2, which completed a circumnavigation of Australia in place of planned Asian calls. Other ships already in Australian waters, such as Queen Elizabeth and P&O's Arcadia, were kept down under, while planned Asian calls were cancelled. Some cruise ships were left in limbo, with Holland America's Westerdam as perhaps the most notable example. The 81,000-ton Vista-class cruise ship was refused entry into multiple Asian ports across 5 countries. The ship was finally allowed to dock in Cambodia and disembark her guests. As the virus continued to spread across the globe, more ships were found to be carrying infectious passengers, including the Ruby Princess, Artania, and the Zaandam. This led to further media attention and a general feeling of wariness among the public and government officials. In March, Fred Olsen's Braemar was refused entry into Barbados, leaving the ship at sea and unable to collect a container of food waiting for her on the dockside in Barbados. You can check out my video about that in the info card or the description below. On the 12th of March, Princess Cruises announced they were pausing operations. 2 days later, the rest of the cruise industry followed, announcing a voluntary cruise pause. This involved cancelling cruises due to depart in the next 30 to 60 days. In many cases, this occurred as voyages came to an end, but longer voyages were curtailed early. At the same time, countries started to implement travel bans. New Zealand was among the first, issuing a cruising ban on the 14th of March. Australia followed suit on the 27th of March 2020, and both countries maintained some of the strictest cruise bans in the world, even now. This led to cruise ships that were operating in these 2 countries having to leave local waters and head north, with most of them ending up in the Philippines. In the United States, the CDC issued a no-sail order in mid-March, though returning cruise ships were generally allowed to disembark passengers so long as increased health and safety checks had been adhered to. Throughout March and into April, cruise ships returned to their home ports and disembarked passengers. Some ships were undertaking global voyages, which presented a greater logistical challenge. These ships required access to foreign ports to disembark passengers, such as Queen Mary 2, which disembarked its world cruise guests in Australia before Australian ports were closed to cruise ships. By April, most cruise ports had become closed to cruise ships. But as more and more ports closed around the world, it presented greater logistical challenges to the cruise lines. Throughout April and May, most of the cruise ships around the world entered into warm layup. Numerous clusters of relatively inactive cruise ships formed around the world. A massive group of ships anchored in Manila Bay, while huge clusters of cruise ships formed off Florida, off Barbados, and off the Bahamas. During this time, cruise lines worked to repatriate crew and any remaining passengers from the hundreds of laid-up cruise ships. With air travel facing its own challenges, this mammoth task took a long time. Multiple ships from various brands set sail on long voyages to take crew to their home countries. In some countries, such as the United Kingdom and Italy, cruise ports remain open to facilitate the transfer of cruise ships, allowing them to disembark crew and also take on provisions and supplies. But the cruise ships don't remain in the port for very long. Once underway, the cruise ships head to Anchorage off the coast. This has led to the south coast of the UK becoming a popular ship spotting area, as large groups of cruise ships can be seen at anchor. Similar sites can be seen off Genoa and Civitavecchia in Italy, as well as the waters of Cyprus, Greek ports, and ports in France. Pullmantur Cruises collapsed in June 2020, while CMV ceased operations in July. While CMV's fleet has remained in layup, The collapse of Pullmantur has resulted in Sovereign and Monarch sailing to the scrapyards of Izmir in Turkey. Here they were joined by Carnival Cruise Line ships, Carnival Fantasy in July and Carnival Inspiration in August. Other ships that have left the Carnival Corp fleet include Costa Victoria, sold in June for scrap, and Costa Nea Romantica, which has been sold to Celestial Cruises. P&O's Oceania left the fleet in July, while Holland America Line bid farewell to Maasdam and Veendam, which departed the fleet in August. Holland America's Amsterdam and Rotterdam were sold to Fred Olsen Cruises. This in turn saw the far older Boudica and Black Watch withdrawn from service. At the same time that cruise lines were cancelling voyages and selling ships, some brands attempted to restart cruising, with varying degrees of success. River Cruises successfully started to resume services in Europe throughout June and July, while Hurtigrutten's resumption of ocean cruising in July was less than successful. You can check out my video about that in the info card or the description below. While TUI's Mein Schiff brand has successfully undertaken cruises from Germany. More recently, MSC has recommenced sailings aboard the MSC Grandiosa. Costa recommenced sailings in September with Costa Deliciosa, a move that is juxtaposed with the retirement of popular Princess Cruises ships Sun and Sea Princess, which are both leaving the fleet, although the buyer is yet to be disclosed. Carnival Fascination has also been sold to an unknown buyer, while Carnival Imagination has joined her fleet mates on the scrapyards in Turkey. But at the time of this upload, most ships remain laid up, and it's anyone's guess what the impact in the recent surge in COVID cases across Europe will have on those cruise lines currently operating. The United States CDC's no-sail order has been pushed out, while Australia and New Zealand remain closed to cruising. So too do many jurisdictions, while the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office advises against cruise ship travel. As such, many cruise lines don't plan to resume any form of passenger journeys until late 2020, or for some lines, early to mid-2021. For a year that was supposed to be cruising's greatest yet, it certainly has turned out to be one of the most challenging. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. If you're interested in more information about what's been going on throughout the cruising and COVID crisis, check out my Cruising and COVID playlist. Or if you're more interested in maritime history and the stories of great ocean liners of days gone by, check out my Maritime History playlist. Thanks so much again for watching, and when it's safe for us to travel again, I hope to see you on board.